My name is Mary Hall Plunkett. I've been a member of Nativity since 1975, which is 50 years ago. Let me explain my name first. My middle name is Hall, and I go by Mary Hall because when I was born during World War II, my dad was overseas. And so my mother was living with, off and on, her mother and her mother-in-law. And Hall is my dad's mother's maiden name. And my mother named me after her, the Hall, intending to call me Mary. Well, my grandmother was so thrilled that she was named after her that she kept calling me Mary Hall, and it caught on. So I've been Mary Hall all of my life. We moved here in 1975 from Montgomery. I was a member of the Holy Comforter Episcopal Church in Montgomery, but I was a new Episcopalian at the time. I was raised Methodist, and my husband was Episcopalian, so I became Episcopalian, and I was confirmed at Holy Comforter, and shortly thereafter we moved to Dothan. Well, the only Episcopal church was here in Dothan. Also, the only people I knew in town were a couple from Montgomery that introduced us and then moved to Dothan. Doug Bates is the person that introduced my husband and me. And what made me stay, there had been a few times where I wasn't sure whether I was going to stay or not. Some things came up. How do I feel about this? Do I need to go back to the Methodist church? And each time I just realized the Nativity is my home, and I love it. And my sister told me, she said, everywhere you go, every church, there's going to be something you don't like. And if you move every time you find something you don't like, you'll just be all over the place. I love Nativity, and I've been in some Sunday school classes that I really loved, that I felt dug deep into some things and helped me with my faith. I've been in a class with Franklin Skinner that studied the scriptures of the week. That helped, and I love that. I met friends there. I was in a class with Sam Flowers. Sam just was entertaining and smart, and I'm now in her son's class, Taylor Flowers. And there's such a mix of people in there. There are people that I agree with politically, people I disagree with politically, but we're not there to argue politics. We're all there because we love Christ. We want to learn more about Jesus. And through talking about current events, we do that. I used to teach Vacation Bible School when my kids were like that age and coming up and a little bit beyond. And one year, Mercedes Ball and I had the fourth grade class. And it was one of those classes that has a reputation from the time they're in kindergarten on up. And we kind of struggled through that and got to be really good friends, during that. And I remember telling them later after that, I said, my kids are beyond this age. I think I need to pass this on to someone else. And I said, sometimes I find that teaching Vacation Bible School, I'm not having Christian thoughts. So I have done a little of that, and I used to sing in the choir. I used to participate a lot more, and a lot of that has to do with my age. That I just kind of grew out of some of those things. And I love our 8 o'clock services now because quiet and reflective, and there are a lot of older people in there. Although I think our music program could compete with anybody anywhere. I think it's wonderful. I think Debbie Dees has just I just can't say enough about our music program. And I do miss that some, but when you get to be my age, you can't participate that much in the hymns or the singing because your voice isn't what it used to be when I sang in the choir. Oh, the other thing that's memorable to me, I have a grandson who is now 18 years old. He is severely autistic. He's nonverbal, very low functioning. When he was 1.5 to 2 years old, we asked Mother Edie, who was our priest at the time, if she would baptize Ben in a private ceremony because crowds just upset him so, and she agreed. And I remember being back there at the baptismal font of my husband and me, my son and his wife, and Ben. And she had asked me before we started, she said, will he let me pick him up? And I said, I don't know, Edie. And she said, well, let's read through the service and just let Ben wander around and do what he wants to until I need him up here. So she's reading the service out of the prayer book. And Ben wandered through a few pews, and he came and he looked up at her, and he put his arms up for her to pick him up. And she handed me the book and picked him up, and she said, hold the book. And I held the book for her to read the rest of the service. And he stayed in her arms, and she baptized him. And afterward, my daughter-in-law, who was not raised Episcopalian, she said to me, she said, she said that Ben, I get a little choked up, that Ben is now Christ's own forever. And I said, yes, Kelly. And I truly believe that, although Ben will never be able to just say that for himself. Or I don't know if he'll even feel it. But we do believe he belongs to Jesus. And that's a special memory of mine from this church. The first word that comes to mind is welcoming, because our church welcomes everybody, and not every church does that. They say we're all God's children, we're all Christ's children, but I have friends in this church who either started in other churches or tried several churches before they came here, and they didn't feel comfortable or didn't feel welcome, and said that was the one thing that brought them here, was the welcome they got when they came.